The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Talk radio for the thinking person, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. My name is Lou Pate, sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow, getting some well-deserved rest and relaxation. He'll have the latest for you on, well, the debate tonight and, well, everything else in the news that transpires between now and then. And, of course, don't forget, although Dr. Savage is not here with us today, it's always the time to get your hands on his latest book, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. You could check that out at michaelsavage.com. Hey, Christmas is right around the corner, 10 days away, so never a better gift, never a better time to get it, never an easier way to get your hands on it. Again, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. Saying all the things that, well, no one else likes to say. So you can check out Dr. Savage through his new book, number 3, by the way, and rising on the New York Times bestseller list. You want to take a bullet and go straight to number 1, but with the folks over at the New York Times, I like the slower crawl to number 1. It's like sticking pins in the people over at the New York Times because you know it is driving them insane that they have to put Dr. Savage on their bestseller list number 1. And, eventually, with the help of you, the folks out there, it's going to go to number 1. So it's a slow, torturous trek to number 1 for the people at the New York Times and a rapid rise for Dr. Savage, who has been a New York Times number 1 best-selling author before. So there you have it, michaelsavage.com. Follow the Savage Nation on Twitter at A Savage Nation. And, of course, check out Dr. Savage's Facebook page. There's a lot of Facebook pages out there, fans, and we appreciate the fans of the Savage Nation putting up pages, but it can be a little confusing. Dr. Savage's page is the one with his new book on it. It's got the face of the book, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. You're going to want to check it out. But we have a lot to get to today, so I want to talk with you and to you about the news that affects your lives. And there's a lot going on out there. But again, we have the debate that will take place tonight. And we'll talk about that a little later in the show. And it's kind of going to be the issue of the debate, the campaign, Donald Trump. It's going to be all interwoven into the conversations that we do have here today. But first, there are things that go on all of the time that even those of you, listeners to the Savage Nation, that pay attention might not know. And today is Bill of Rights Day. On this day in 1791, for those of you who are students of history or aspire to be students of history, I know Dr. Savage often gives history lessons here on the show and enlightens all of us. On this date in 1791, the Bill of Rights, well, it was ratified. It was passed. And some might be saying, and we don't criticize you if you don't know, some might be saying, well, what is the Bill of Rights? Well, basically, the Bill of Rights is a collection of the first 10 amendments to the United States Constitution, okay? It has codified freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, and other bedrocks of our American system. Basically, it is our backbone. It is our foundation. And not everybody is aware of it. Hey, never too late to learn. Keep it here at the Savage Nation. You will always learn. So, never too late to learn. But again, it's the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. And just for a little backdrop there, it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always like that. The Constitution was signed without the Bill of Rights by 39 delegates. That was back in 1787. And again, it wasn't until 1791 where they finally, got their act together, got organized, and codified it, and gave us what I feel many of us, unfortunately, take for granted today in this beautiful country of ours, the United States of America. So there you go. Happy Bill of Rights Day. If you were not aware of it, you are living it. Again, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion, all of these things that are taking part in our daily goings on with the fight against terrorism, the fight against ISIS, the fight against Islam. Well, I do feel that Islam is a cancer on society. Nobody wants to say that. Nobody wants to talk about it. We have political correctness in this country that is baffling to the mind. We have people on the left defending Islam, defending Sharia law, yet it's such a conundrum. It's such a conflict of interest. How can people on the left defend Islam when Islam is against everything that they say that they're in favor of? They say they're in favor of women's rights. Obviously, there are no rights for women in Islam. They can't learn. They can't show their faces in Sharia law. And then there's the issue of gay rights. Lefties pretend to look out for gays, but look online. There's videos of gays having their hands tied behind their backs and being thrown off roofs. It is pretty disgusting, pretty deplorable. And this is what is going on, and this is what's going to be talked about in the debate. This is what's going to be talked about for the next year, because terrorism in America is a problem. We've had numerous attacks as recently as San Bernardino. Today, the LA Unified School System shut down. 640,000 students kept home. Wall-to-wall news coverage because of a email that made threats in Los Angeles and various other cities such as New York. For those listening on Savage affiliate WABC, my original hometown. I'm a Bronx born, just like Dr. Savage. But what this indicates is that we are on edge when it comes to terrorism. You look at the way the authorities, and I'm not criticizing them, the way they responded today in Los Angeles, closing down all the schools. Again, 640,000 students kept home. Some would say that the city of Los Angeles overreacted to this threat. Do you think that? I mean, would you want your school district, your immediate school where your child goes, to react in this manner should something similar happen in your small town, your medium city? Would you send your kid to school? Do you think the threat is real? I don't think they overreacted, but I do feel that after San Bernardino, if San Bernardino didn't happen, if Paris didn't happen, they wouldn't have shut down the schools today. The world has changed before our eyes in the last month, and the man in the White House can't see it. When I first saw this, obviously, I hoped it was a hoax. My gut told me that it was some Yahoo or some numbskull kid who doesn't understand the ramifications of what he or she was doing, who wanted a day off for whatever reason, because history has shown us that terrorists don't announce when they're coming. You saw it with 9/11. You saw it with Khobar Towers. We saw it with the U.S. Coal. You saw it with all of the attempts that have been thwarted over the. They don't call up and say we're coming. As a matter of fact, I've noticed over the years, whenever terrorist organizations issue a threat like "Beware, we're coming for you," that's when they don't have a bullet in the chamber. That's when they don't have much going on. So we're going to talk more about that, because this is what has given rise to this phenomenon in a political season known as Donald Trump. The Trump factor is born out of this. Now, I'm a big fan of the Trump candidacy, but I'll be honest, I was not always. To me, Donald Trump was just a guy who would run for president every 4 years, and then knowing he wasn't going to make it, but he got all the attention that he desired, and then that all changed in an instant in this 2015 beginning of the cycle, when he made that comment about Mexicans sending over criminals and racists and so on. I'm paraphrasing now. In an instant, it changed in my mind, and it clicked for millions of other people too. It was I hate the term game changer. Everybody uses the term game changer, but it truly was a game changer. And why? Because it spoke to the many millions of Americans out there who feel that way, because it's the truth. And you bookend it now with his latest statement, which some would call controversial. I say it's what we need to do, banning Muslims from the United States, at least temporarily, those who are not born here in the United States. You know how the left and the media will twist your words. It is truly an amazing phenomenon. You'll see tonight in the debate. It's not even a debate. It's how can the media and the Republican establishment try and bring down Donald Trump. That's what you're going to see tonight. It's funny. The mainstream media hates the Republican Party, and yet the Republican Party hates Donald Trump. They both have a common enemy in Donald Trump. So finally we finally see the mainstream media doing something parallel with the GOP. Who knows? Maybe in cahoots with them. It is truly amazing. Trying to bring down Donald Trump, who just won't go away. And the reason he will not go away is because, well, he epitomizes the thoughts and beliefs of many people out there. But you have President Obama moving forward against the will of the people. You have Paul Ryan moving forward against the will of the people. For those of you who did not know, he got in bed today with Nancy Pelosi. Geesh. Does she look like I don't like to judge people's personal appearances. I'm not exactly any oil painting here, but he negotiates. She looks like she's in a wind tunnel, that woman. He negotiated with Nancy Pelosi, and now the meat of it, the red meat of it, the GOP attempts to insert language into the bill, the spending bill, to impose tougher controls on Syrian and Iraqi refugees, failed. Unsuccessful. Obama is going to get his way. He is going to get all of his funding for his refugee programs. You can thank Paul Ryan on that. Pretty amazing there. But I want to talk with you, and I want to get your comments on the school situation in L.A. Are the terrorists winning because we're reacting this way, or did they have to respond that way? Paul Ryan giving away the school bus to everybody. Anybody wants to get on for free. Truly an amazing phenomenon, giving all of the spending that Obama wants for his Syrian and Iraqi refugee program. We'll talk more about that, how terrorists are coming in. A disgrace to Catholics who came over in 1900 is President Obama comparing the refugees of today to Catholics in 1900, to Jews in the Holocaust. Truly an amazing phenomenon. No, when Catholics came over in 1900, when the Chinese came over, when the Jews were fleeing the Nazis, we didn't have to worry about terrorists being weaved into the masses that were coming over. These were people coming over for a better life. My grandparents were part of that. Truly an amazing phenomenon. I'll tell you what, we'll take a quick break. We'll get your phone calls lined up. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Remember, it's Christmas time. Best gift going this year, government zero. No borders, no language, no culture. Check it out at michaelsavage.com. But in the meantime, give us a buzz here. My name is Lou Pate, sitting in today for Dr. Savage. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. When we come back, in the theme of all of this with terrorism, and it's kind of all interwoven. You got the L.A. school district closing down. We've got the debate tonight. We've got Trump, who is rising based on the terrorist acts in the last few weeks, both nationally and domestic and internationally. But what we have is we can take out ISIS in these hiding spots, okay? If you look on michaelsavage.com, you'll see an article there. You could link to the Washington Times. Whose side is government zero on? Okay, we're gonna talk about that when we come back, and how ISIS, although probably one of their number one enemies after America is the Jewish state, is Israel, is the Jewish people, yet Joseph Goebbels, he would be proud. They'd be in conjunction with ISIS. Joseph Goebbels, the propaganda minister, the propaganda master of the Nazis, inspiring the ISIS people. They are leaving Goebbels in the dust when it comes to propaganda, and we'll talk more about that later. And also, well, you know the issues that the British government has with Dr. Savage. He is the only member of the American media banned from Britain. Well, we're going to talk about what was found by some teenage hackers within the government of Britain. You're going to want to find out when we return here on The Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage, who will return tomorrow. And I just touched on it before the break. As linked on, you can find the story on michaelsavage.com. The United States has clandestine, the CIA, whoever, the alphabet soups of intelligence working on finding the hiding spots of the Islamic State, and where not their arsenal, but their media safe houses. Okay, there's a secret project that's a U.S.-led campaign against the Islamic State, and they've spent months mapping out known physical locations of, and it's important to say, media safe houses. This is where I touched on with a nod, a homage from ISIS to Joseph Goebbels. The extremist group's operatives they're compiling, editing, and curating raw video, print materials, and to finished digital propaganda products. You'll see them on Twitter. You'll see them on Facebook. You'll see them on YouTube. Heck, you'll probably see them on Islamotube if it exists. But they are not only winning the war on terror because people here are living in fear, hence what happened at the LI Unified School District today, but they are also winning the war online, and our young people are falling for it. They have a way of manipulating the young minds. They know how to appeal to the youngest of us in the digital age. And this is frightening because our government, which is run by a bunch of dinosaurs, don't believe the media when they say, Obama is the first internet president. He's the coolest president. He's this, it's that. He had a BlackBerry. Big deal. We are ages behind when it comes to the digital landscape of appealing to young people. We are dinosaurs in Washington, D.C. when it comes to this. But we know where they're doing this, and we won't bomb them. Why? We won't bomb them because we're afraid of collateral damage. What would have happened in World War II if Harry Truman, the great Harry Truman, was afraid of collateral damage? There wouldn't have been Hiroshima. There wouldn't have been Nagasaki. Your calls and more on this when we return to the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage, who will return tomorrow. And remember, it's never too late, 10 days before Christmas, to get your hands on the best gift around, Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. It is a must-read, and not only will it provide a great gift, it's going to provide incredible conversation after you and the receivee read it and then discuss it for a very long time, you'll see, and then you'll be giving it away to other people and chatting about it. Again, Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. We're talking about how the media in the United States, the left-wing media there, it's not even media. Media is supposed to be honest. It's just basically corrupt journalism. They're having trouble and they're frustrated because they can no longer shape what people think. Okay, it used to be back in the days where you had, CBS, ABC, NBC, and maybe, I grew up in the Bronx in New York. We had Channel 11, WPIX. That was all that was there, and you had news at 6, news at 11, sports at 17, weather at 28. They told you what it was, and you believed them because they were supposed to be honest. Those days are long gone, and where the media here in the United States can no longer mold the silly putty brains of people who were not paying attention. ISIS and the Taliban and other terrorist organizations are very successful at molding the minds of our youth. We know where these videos are being made. We know where all of this propaganda is being produced, at least a lot of it, in Syria, in Iraq, in Libya. Our intelligence agencies have done an incredible job risking their lives to find out these locations, and yet our government, a.k.a. Obama, will not pull the trigger to kill these terrorists because these propagandists are no different than the terrorists who kill individuals with guns and or bombs. These people have to die. They are terrorists. And you can't worry about collateral damage. But as I said before, terrorists are living amongst us, whether it's in the United States, as we learned in San Bernardino, or in the UK. The hackers have claimed a number of Islamic State supporters, teenage hackers this are, social media accounts that are being run from internet addresses linked to the Department of Work and Pensions, this in England. I mean, Could you imagine? We got a small group, 4 young computer experts. They call themselves Vandasec. They've unearthed evidence indicating that at least 3 ISIS-supporting accounts can be tracked down to the DWP London offices. Are you kidding me? They're using taxpayer dollars, taxpayer devices to promote terrorism right within London. I'm not surprised because political correctness has gone crazy in London. Muslims are taking over London. I just had a friend of mine who went on vacation there, said there are more Muslims roaming around London than there seems to be Brits. And that is a sad thing. It's a fungus. It's a cancer. And they're taking over. But given that it's Britain, given that it's England, and all the PC that goes on there, and Cameron, who has no backbone, I'm not surprised. Now, hackers have traced an ISIS Twitter account back to the internet addresses linked to the Department of Work and Pensions in London. What is the London government, what is Cameron going to do about it? I'll tell you, same thing Obama does about it. Nothing. Let's get to the phones here on the Savage Nation. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. I'll tell you what, take my first call here on the Savage Nation from my hometown in New York City. Rob on WABC, line 6. How are you, Rob? Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Hey, Luke. So, everybody's been talking, the question that's being posed, right, is how do we find and destroy ISIS, But I really think the real question needs to go back. If we go back to the original, coup that started in Syria, these are people that we were funding to overthrow Assad, So, when you listen to people call them ISIS or ISIL or Al-Qaeda or, you could call them the New York Giants if you want, but when their values are the same and when their mission is the same, it doesn't matter what you call them. These are fundamentally the same people. So if we could find them to begin with in order to give them weapons and monetarily fund their fight against Assad, I think it's asinine of the American people to think that these people are so hidden that we couldn't even locate them. Let's be real here.
Well, Rob, there were pictures online last week of ISIS soldiers with American-made weapons. You're not going. It probably was in the blink of an eye, and then in the cabal of the media, they probably all got together and said, "Let's get rid of that." But yes, as you said, that's where it starts with Obama with his famous "Do not cross this red line" 3 different times. And then Putin just smacked him all over the international map in protecting Assad. Okay, we're going to get Assad out of there. And now we're helping the rebels, and born out of the rebels comes ISIS, and they have access to our weapons, they have access to our intelligence, and Putin's laughing. Assad is secure, and Obama continues to do nothing about it. He continues to deny that the issue of terrorism even exists, and he goes abroad, as you saw, and he bad-mouthing Republicans on the international stage. Let me put it to you this way, Rob, and everybody else listening here to the Savage Nation. They don't care about the whole petty arguments between Republicans and Democrats here in the United States. All they want to know is dead Americans and dead people who like to live free. They don't care about squabbles that people have every day over the water cooler. You know that, Rob.
When you talk about these refugees, these are supposed to be refugees that are fleeing religious persecution. But when you look at the numbers, there's a vast amount of Muslims being let in, when they're not the ones that are supposedly being persecuted. If you were taking Syrian Christians and bringing them in because they were being slaughtered by the hundreds, I could understand. But to take a bunch of, people that are supposedly, they're running from their own people, you're talking about a religion that needs a massive reformation. If these people were to stay in their homelands and fight for what's right and fight for the supposed peaceful Islam, maybe they could have the reformation that it needs. But if you run away...
Rob, well said. Thank you for your call. And that's why Donald Trump is scoring points on this, because he says he will provide them with safe zones within their own country. While some of them will probably want to come to America, I think most of them would probably rather stay home. But thanks for your call. Do appreciate it. Let's go to my current home in South Florida. Nick, WFTL, line 1. Welcome, Nick, to the Savage Nation. How are you?
Hey, Luke, how you doing? Luke, I'm a retired police sergeant. I want to clarify something. Terrorists, I've worked terrorist cases, okay? So Every now and then they will do dry runs. They've done them on planes. There was a case not too long ago on the Long Island Railroad. Now, ready for this? A guy in the middle of the train puts down his prayer rug and starts praying towards Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
That was in Manhattan. By Jamaica Station, the conductors already had gotten all the passengers off except for this lunatic, and then he was greeted by lots of cops. Now, that was a dry run because he could have been, God only knows, he could have had a suicide. Who the hell knows? We don't know this. So They do dry runs.
Oh, yeah, the 9/11 guys flew back and forth across the country testing it out regularly.
Now it gets much, much worse because they want to instill terror like they did right now in California. So I believe I heard something to the effect that they may have found some devices. They're not 100% certain. Point is, in this current state that we're in right now, with this heightened security alert, we cannot afford to let this go by the board. They have to shut down the system, and that's part of.
And they should. And hey, Nick, just quickly, where were you a police officer in New York?
I was in the DA's office in Manhattan my whole career, actually. Actually, that's not true. I did 20 years in the DA's office. I did 6 years in other commands before that.
I tip my hat to you, Nick, and to all the police officers out there. I went to junior high school, intermediate school, 192, Piagentini and Jones, IS 192 in the Bronx. And the reason I only bring that up is because Piagentini and Jones were two police officers who were murdered in cold blood on the job. And in the war on police, the war against authority that we have now here in the United States and the anti-cop fervor that is going on everywhere, you would never be able to get a school named after two murdered police officers in this day and age, and I think that's disgusting. That's the only reason I even bring that up. But thanks for your call, Nick. I do appreciate it, and I commend you for your service. Let's go to where all the trouble comes from. Our nation's capital, aligned to
all these comments. It just brings up a lot of bad blood. We've screwed the pooch from day one in the Middle East. We continue to. We've got all of our agencies and law enforcement that are being demonized by this administration. You know, I'm retired military and spent 19 years in defense contracting, and it's only getting worse. You're not allowed to do your job. The intel agencies, they try to do their job. They're demonized. They're told, no, you can't do this. Law enforcement, the military, it's like all the people that are here to keep us safe and sound, you know, are downtrodden by this administration. These savages are just embedding themselves within our communities. I saw some about Dearborn where now that's the law up there. One of the communities up there, Sharia laws, the law of the land. Really?
Yes, and the law of the land in small towns in Michigan. The cancer is already in the body. Can we get it with chemo? Can we get it with radiation? That remains to be seen. I don't know if it's already metastasized, but in London, it has already happened. We've had many police officers took to social media saying that they have to ask permission of the Muslim leaders before patrolling certain communities. Do you know that even in New York City and around the country, when if you're going to raid a mosque to arrest someone, because former Mayor Bloomberg did have that good program going on where they were profiling Muslims because they are the terrorists. They should be profiling. I'm 100% in favor of profiling. Before they go in, you have to take their shoes off. I mean, listen, a mosque is no longer a mosque, Leo, when you are using it for terrorist propaganda. In Iraq and in Afghanistan over the last 10 years, hundreds of mosques, if not all of them, have been used as armories. Our soldiers have been shot at and killed from people shooting at them from mosques. A mosque is no longer a mosque when you are using it for war. If you are having even one meeting where you are talking about terrorist activity and giving out pamphlets and assigning jihad assignments and looking to spread the word, it is no longer a mosque. It no longer gets the religious protection. I don't know if you heard, Leo, I talked about in the start of the show the Bill of Rights. Today is the anniversary, 1791. Freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of speech. That you do not enjoy those freedoms when you do not follow the law. Do you understand?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's all over Europe, actually. It's not just London specific. London is a hotbed I've got friends that are over there, and they said it's not even their country anymore.
London and Paris are the nucleus, and London, you reap what you sow with what they got over there. Hey, maybe they should let Dr. Savage back in, being that he's the only member of the American media band. Maybe if they hear he's coming back, maybe they'll scatter back to their desert caves. What do you think, Leo?
Well, maybe the Queen will invite him back over and have tea with him. Since, our president likes to have beer summits, maybe he can have a tea summit with her.
Yeah, beer summit. Listen to him. Leo, thanks for your call from the great WMAL. Do appreciate it. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a quick break. If you're holding, please continue to hold. We're going to continue on with the conversation. Again, I don't, Republicans want to stick together, but I want to know how you also feel about Paul Ryan, new Speaker of the House. Was he a Democrat? 855-400-SAVAGE if you want to get in on the conversation. Again, my name is Lou Pate. 800-400-SAVAGE. 7282 is the number there. 855-400-7282. Check out Dr. Savage's Facebook page. Again, his Facebook page is the one with his new book on it, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Cultures, a must-have in the Christmas season and thereafter. And when we come back, we'll talk about what's going on, the stories posted on michaelsavage.com, which you should visit. My name is Lou Pate. You are listening to The Savage Nation.
From the start, Africans were brought here in chains against their will and then toiled under the whip. They also built America. A century ago, New York City shops displayed those signs, "No Irish need apply." Catholics were targeted, their loyalty questioned. So much so that as recently as the 1950s and 60s, when JFK had to run, he had to convince people that his allegiance wasn't primarily to the Pope.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. And remember, this is the place for Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. I'm telling you, if you miss out on this, you're biting off your nose to spite your face. A great read, and number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. I predict rapidly to be number 1. Hey, breaking news before we get back to the phones and our topics here at hand. The Freddie Gray case, remember? He was the drug dealer, 19 convictions, 5 outstanding warrants in Baltimore, Maryland. Officer William Porter is the first officer going on trial for his death. Numerous charges there. I feel overcharged, but we'll talk about that more in the next hour. Jurors say they are deadlocked. The judge tells them to keep deliberating. Well, that works into what we're going to be talking about in the next hour. This whole issue of white privilege. And guess who is the most derided group of people in Britain? Well, we'll talk more about that and the whole Black Lives Matter crowd and how it pertains to Donald Trump's campaign. They were there again last night. But in the meantime, let's get back to the phones. Sean, line 4, WMAL, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you. I really don't have any trust in the Republican nor Democrat. This country has a fundamental flaw in it. This has been one of the sorriest presidents, too, President Obama. I really don't have no respect for him. George Bush didn't do anything, and Clinton also. He started all this with this NAFTA and allowing all these illegal immigrants in here. Now, I do agree with y'all on certain points. Now, as far as these Muslims and these refugees coming over here to our country, I really think we need to get rid of them because, see, we got a poverty problem over here right now. And I just don't understand how is it possible that we can allow these people to come in our country, give them stipends to work, and then we can't feed our people here at our home. So I think all these folks are hypocrites. They don't fear God, and they ain't going to do nothing. But I do agree. Let's get these.
All right. Well, thanks, Sean. They refuse to assimilate. That's what it comes down to. Hey, you are listening to the Savage Nation. My name is Lou Pate. We'll be back on the other side. Make sure to check out michaelsavage.com for Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now. 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Talk radio for the thinking person, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate filling in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow, but you don't have to wait till then to get your hands on Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. I'm telling you, you're going to want to get your paws on this one. I'm a dog guy like Dr. Savage. You're going to want to get your paws on this one. Go to michaelsavage.com. You give it to someone for Christmas, be he Jew or Gentile. Even a goyim could give a good gift, such as Dr. Savage's latest book, which is number 3 on the New York Times bestseller list. Great Christmas gift. I'm telling you, it's one that's going to keep giving in the form of great conversation. A Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. Check it out at michaelsavage.com. Also, hey, Dr. Savage is all over the interwebs like the kids. Check him out on Twitter at A Savage Nation, and also his Facebook page. When you go to the Facebook page, there's a lot of fan pages, which is flattering, but Dr. Savage's personal page is the one with the book, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. That is him. If you're holding, please continue to hold. We're gonna get right to you. I just want to follow up quickly on a story that Dr. Savage covered yesterday about a Brooklyn school where the principal would not allow them to say the Pledge of Allegiance. This was PS 169 in Sunset Park, for those of you listening on WABC in New York. What went on there was you had Principal Kim. She's a nut. She's a left-wing lunatic. Banned the Pledge of Allegiance was dropped. Thanksgiving was replaced with a harvest festival. Santa was kicked out of the school. He was banned. I mean, this is nuts. We're talking PS 169 in Sunset Park. We're talking kids, okay? Kids love Santa. Every kid loves Santa because every kid loves gifts. Well, as reported in the New York Post, sanity wins. School tosses principal's ban on Santa Pledge of Allegiance. And I tip my hat to District 15 Superintendent Anita Scope. I hope I'm saying your name right, S-K-O-P. She stormed into the front door, as it said in the New York Post, 9:50 a.m., and minutes later, 2 fifth-grade boys were brought into the main office to lead a recital over the public address system of the Pledge of Allegiance. So a golf clap out there to District 15 Superintendent Anita Scope, doing the right thing, saying enough of this political correctness. You know, I often say political correctness is domestic terrorism. And I've been saying that for a long time. You write it down, you can use it. Political correctness is domestic terrorism. But none of that was going on at PS 169. And not only that, it is being reported in the New York Post that the pledge hadn't been said over the loudspeakers since Principal Kim took over in May of 2014. Now, Santa Claus is reinstated at the school, and the Department of Education officials said on Monday that the Pledge of Allegiance will be recited over the PA system every morning in response to concerns from the community. Hey, listen. Don't mess with Christmas. Don't mess with Santa. Don't mess with the flag. Don't mess with that Pledge of Allegiance. I used to say that all the time. Maybe didn't always get the words right in kindergarten and first grade, but hand over the heart. Look, we all have our political differences, you know, all our little squabbles. Met fans, Yankee fans, okay? But soccer versus football, right, Robert? But when it comes to the Pledge of Allegiance, when it comes to the flag, we all reside under it, and we enjoy everything that is in that Bill of Rights, which we talked about earlier. Today is the celebration of the Bill of Rights. Can't be said enough. 1791, this is the anniversary. We were talking about the refugees. We were talking about terrorism. We were talking about how weak Obama is pertaining to terrorism. Talking about the media, how they are really having an effect on young people, which this I don't understand. You see these young girls from places in the UK going to Syria, disappearing. There was one girl from Australia, 18 years old, and a 15-year-old. They ran away to be ISIS girls. All they do is rape and brutalize them and use them as breeding factories. One girl tried to escape. She was caught. She was beaten to death. This is known throughout the world that once teenagers who run away to join ISIS actually get there, which is a feat in and of itself, they never return. They're gone, okay? And it's never a good life, and it's usually a short life. Yet, with the media-savvy terrorists, they still have a lock on the brains of young people all over the world. Advertisers must be thinking to themselves, if we can only appeal to the money demo, to the young 18 to 34 crowd, the way the terrorists are, they'd be making a lot more money. It is truly an amazing phenomenon. But I'm happy to give that update on political correctness losing at PS 169 in Brooklyn, New York. Now, I mentioned before about Dr. Savage being the only member of the American media banned from Britain. There was a story that came out that it talks about how young white males are the most derided group in all of Britain. What's this to say about white privilege? Earlier this year, a study came out. It was featured on Breitbart.com that said that white privilege in Britain doesn't exist. I would say white privilege doesn't exist anywhere. It doesn't exist in Britain. It doesn't exist in the United States. It is a myth, just like global warming is a myth, and white privilege is a myth just the same. We got these Black Lives Matter opportunists, racist opportunists, we'll call them, running around trying to make a name for themselves. The only thing positive coming out of the Black Lives Matter group is that they've bumped the court jester of the civil rights movement, Sharpton, off of the headlines. He can't get any play. He even got fired from his MSNBC job. I think they bumped him to the weekends or something like that. So if anything good came out of the Black Lives Matter crew, and I say that sarcastically, with a sardonic tone, they bumped Sharpton out of the way because he truly is the court jester, that one. But anyway, yeah, young men, and this is not just, I use the situation in Britain as an example of white privilege being a myth, but, okay, it is not a popular time right now in America or in the world to be a white male because for some reason we are under siege from the media. Even whites in the media deride us. I don't understand why all of a sudden it became a bad thing to be a white guy. It is truly an amazing phenomenon. But I have a theory, and I'd like to get your opinion on this. Right now, the Black Lives Matter crew, and you see the idiots at the University of Missouri and Harvard and Princeton and Yale with safe spaces and all of this type of stuff. If they admit that we are all equal, which we are, okay, if the Black Lives Matter crew, if the Sharpton crew, if the Jesse Mumbles Jackson and all of these others out there, if they actually admit that we are all equal, which we are, in this 2015, on the cusp of 2016, they will have to actually accept responsibility for their lot in life. Okay? No more blaming it on the white devil. No more blaming it on your mother didn't hug you enough. No more blaming that your school system is not as good as the other school system. We are all equal. If Barack Obama could become president of the United States, coming from a broken family, being raised by his white grandparents, if this guy can rise to the presidency of the United States, there's no excuse for anybody else out there, okay? Because broken family, bounced around, took advantage of the system. You're just lazy, okay? You're just lazy because it's 2015. Nobody is being denied an education. Nobody is being denied housing. No one is being denied a seat at Denny's. All of this crap that you hear about, nobody is being denied anything. It is all a myth. But the media runs with it. There is a narrative there that all whites and all white men are, well, they're racist. That's the story, okay? You flash back to 2009. I'll use this as an example. You flash back to 2009. There was a mass shooting, okay? There was a mass shooting in Binghamton, New York. Like 13 people were killed. Do you remember it? No. When I read about this, I didn't even remember it. 2009, mass shooting at a school, former student. Why haven't we heard about it? Why isn't anybody talking about it? Why doesn't President Obama bring up this story whenever he talks about mass shootings? And I'll tell you why. The perpetrator was Asian. Last name Wong. Doesn't fit the profile. Doesn't fit the stereotype. Doesn't fit the narrative that the mainstream media wants you to follow. Let's. I'm getting off on tangents here, but I want to get in everybody because I respect your time. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage here on the Savage Nation. Line 1, Steve on WJR. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
How you doing, Lou?
Hi.
I want to share with you an example of foreign beliefs sort of eroding our judicial system, and if I could.
Sure.
I went in. I sold a piece of property, and I went in for a title company to pick up the check. And as required by Michigan law, the check has to be written to the husband and wife. There's a gentleman next to me of, I assume, Middle Eastern descent, and he was there also to pick up a check. And he opened the envelope and he started ranting and raving, saying that the check is against God and against his religion because it had his wife's name on it. And he wanted them to rewrite the check and put only his name on it, which is against Michigan law. The girl at the desk, after he carried on, said, "I'll take that to my manager." And so I thought, I'm going to stick around and see what happens with this, how this plays out. They went back to the room, recut the check only in his name, and reissued the check to him. So
and it's because they don't acknowledge females.
They took the female off the check. His wife's name was taken off the check.
But now, wouldn't that make everything null and void? As you said, it's illegal by law.
Well, he can still go and cash the check. It only has his name on it. So here's check. Same with me. If they only put my name on it, I'd just go in as a single man and I'd cash my check.
My older sister, Steve, she used to be a teacher, an excellent teacher. Now she's changed careers and she's now a nurse. She was always the smarter one in the family. But when she was a teacher, it was in White Plains, New York. There was a fellow teacher, Muslim male, right around the same age, refused to acknowledge her or any other females in the building. Okay, wouldn't shake their hand, wouldn't talk to them, wouldn't make eye contact with. If they addressed him, he would not acknowledge them. This is not the way the world functions, Steve.
And you know what the saddest thing about this is? The woman was a manager. The woman behind the desk was a manager. By taking that lady's name off that check, basically what they did is they voided all the women's rights fighting and have passed over the women's right to vote. They wiped it all out. They went back 100 years and said, women have no rights.
You're right. Well said. Thank you, Steve, for your call. Do appreciate it. And yet the left in this country, well, they support Islam because it's the Republicans who are having a war on women. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage here on the Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. And if I can say, you want to check out Government Zero, the latest tome by Dr. Savage. Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. Number 3 currently on the New York Times bestseller list. And I get a sick thrill out of how it must really be getting under the fingernails of those at the New York Times that Dr. Savage is creeping up to number 1. And with your help, he'll be there a little quicker, or a lot quicker. Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. Again, michaelsavage.com. Aside from being able to purchase the book there's a lot of great stories on michaelsavage.com, many of which we've used today here on the show. But let's get back to the phones. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. My name is Lou Pate. We've been talking a lot about the refugees, been talking a lot about terrorism. Now we were talking about white privilege. The London, where young white males are derided and looked at very negatively. And now I'm using that as a premise to talk about the myth of white privilege here in the United States, the Black Lives Matter clowns running around, the media enabling all of these people. We got people, you remember in the spring and summer, what do we want? Dead cops. What do we want? When do we want them? Now. I mean, that's what they were chanting, and the media would put this on TV. Nobody would counter anything. There's no leadership in the black community that has the temerity to stand up and talk about this and speak out against this. No, instead, cops are being murdered all over the country, and white people continue to be vilified. I will go so far as to say for no reason. Okay? History is history. We have to learn from it. Everybody should be a student of history like Dr. Savage. But we're not. Okay? We don't learn. And the reason is, as I touched on before, it's because all excuses are gone. If you admit that you are in the United States, the greatest country in the world, American exceptionalism, and you have to accept responsibility for your actions. Let's get to the phones. Andre, in my native New York. I'm Bronx born like Dr. Savage. Line 2, Andre on WABC. Welcome.
Hey, it's actually Andrew, but I want to say Black Lives Matter. That group figuratively has more black blood on their hands than anyone. I'll tell you why, because they support the far-left Democrat policies, which weaken the black family, cause government dependency. If you go back before the 60s, the black family was more intact than the white family. There was only 10% out of wedlock. Now it's a whopping 73%. And in the housing, in the poor neighborhoods, it's higher than that. So they support those policies that break up the family and take the father out of the home, cause crime and poverty. I went to my brother's keeper as a journalist, and I was appalled because the man speaking said 80% of you are from broken homes, yet he didn't then say, now you have to break the cycle. So Obama chose not to include that in his curriculum.
Not a surprise. Andrew, thanks for your call from WABC. Andre, don't go away. We're going to get to you and all of the other callers. Lou Pate here with you, the home of Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. You're listening to The Savage Nation.
The Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage.
Welcome back to The Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow. Do not fret. His batteries will be all charged or recharged and fully charged. Not that they ever go down. The man's got energy that is to be envied. Trust me. Dr. Savage will return tomorrow here. But right now, you can go to michaelsavage.com, get Government Zero. It's a great gift for Christmas, and it's a very important book for 2016, one that is going to generate lots of conversation, and I'm not talking about the drunken kind over the Thanksgiving table. I'm talking about positive conversation, enlightening conversation that are going to open up the eyes of many people out there, and you're going to say, why didn't they teach us this in school? That's a great question. And got to give credit where credit's due. Lou Pate here, but I'm not doing it alone. Dr. Savage is here with us in spirit. But hardcore being with us is Robert and Jim. I'm not doing this alone. And, fellas, you're doing a great job. I couldn't have done it without you, and I appreciate it. I'm not just saying that on the air. Trust me, I do really appreciate all the help you have given. I got a lot I want to get to. You're holding. I'm going to get right to the phones, but I've got so much information here. And I don't want to get into information overload and just start rambling and going off on tangents. Time here on the Savage Nation is precious. So I'm going to get right to the phones, and I'm going to, can it up, all this stuff. I can't say the word, but I do want to give this, and this came to me from Jim and Robert. As I said, they've contributed mightily. The UK Independent, a writer by the name of, and no disrespect if I'm pronouncing it wrong, Vadim Nikitim, Nikitim, Vadim Nikitim. It said it's why it's time to grant ISIS diplomatic recognition. And I quote, I don't read online, but this is worth it. You're going to love this. Last week, we saw the publication of a cache of internal memos leaked from official ISIS sources, including a 24-page statecraft blueprint. These documents show that ISIS has already lived up to its name, whether we like it or not. Yes, yet Western policies continue to deny this reality. Like the war on drugs, the war against ISIS remains predicated on flawed notion that acceptance implies legitimation. Listen, just because they're killing people and they're masters of propaganda, as we've talked about sprinkled throughout the show, doesn't mean that they should get recognition diplomatically. That is insane. We were talking about this before the show. It was like BTK, the serial killer in Kansas. He killed a bunch of people, and, it wasn't L.A., wasn't New York, wasn't Miami, Seattle, Boston, Dallas, and he wrote that it was Kansas, and nobody cared, except for the families of the poor people who were murdered. And he wrote to the paper, and I quote, How many people do I have to kill before I get my name in the paper? I mean, what is it with ISIS? How many people do we have to behead before they get diplomatic recognition? The UK Independent. What the heck is going on there in the UK? I'm going to have to talk to my mate, my buddy from over there, my bloke, find out what the thought process is. Let's get to the phones. The UK Independent, why it's time to grant ISIS diplomatic recognition. Has the world gone insane? Liberals, ISIS hates gays. ISIS hates women. ISIS hates freedom. Oh, by the way, liberals, ISIS hates you. Yep. Just here, I got to get this in there. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, right? Okay, everybody knows the name. Mark Zuckerberg comes out in defense of Muslims and against Donald Trump, with Donald Trump being said that they shouldn't be allowed into the country. So Mark Zuckerberg, he's going to be the PC warrior. Remember, political correctness is domestic terrorism. He's going to be the PC warrior. Mark Zuckerberg, he's Jewish. He is of the Jewish faith. Zuckerberg, you are one of the first people they would kill slowly with a dull knife. Amazing to me. Rich, Andre at KSFO in San Francisco. By the Bay, Andre, I didn't forget about you. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like to say in defense of the white male that in my life, I'm in my 50s, white males have done more to help me unconditionally in my own experience than my own race of people. I mean, not only white males, but white people in general. I've had struggles in my life. I have some white friends. Whenever I turned to them, they did more to help me than my own race of people. And that has been my experience.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Andre, and I appreciate your honesty and your candor, but I think what you happen to be fortunate to come upon in your life, to cross paths with good individuals. Like, they didn't help you because they were white. They helped you because they were good people. They didn't help you because you were black. They helped you because they saw something positive in you. It's the intersection of where good people met good people and something positive came from it. That's what happened. Like, they didn't help you because you were black, and they didn't help you because they were white. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I agree with you. And that's what I just wanted to say that in defense of, because I know that you're getting a bad rap right now. So I just wanted to say, though, I know it's not because of color, but I just say that's been my experience.
Yeah, Andre, and I appreciate it. You want to know why Donald Trump is rising in the polls? Although the terrorist attack certainly helped him, because Ben Carson was rising, and there was the fake rise of Carly Fiorina. The fix was in from her. Fox News and the GOP establishment was behind that. They wanted to try to counter the Democrats' accusations of the war on women. But the reason that Donald Trump is rising, the foundation of it, Andre, is that white people over the last 7 years are tired of just being called racist and bigoted and all of these negative slurs simply because they disagree with the policies of Barack Obama. The liberal news media cannot accept the fact that they just chose the wrong side. They picked a bad candidate. And Barack Obama is not a bad president because he's black. He's a bad president because he makes bad decisions. And he's continuing to make bad decisions, and he has always made bad decisions. Once you drag race into it, it loses credibility. But, Andre, thanks for your call, and I'm glad you, a good person, cross paths with other good people. Let's go to Robert, line 2, WFNC, North Carolina. Welcome.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
I'm an active duty Marine out of North Carolina, and we've kind of had discussions at work with the attacks that have happened in the past, and the infiltration and how good they are at infiltrating the ranks of the radicalistic Muslims and ISIS. And with the thousands of refugees that are coming in our culture in the military, with trusting everyone that we meet because they're our brethren, I'm just curious to see, and I really hope that maybe Donald Trump has a way down the road to keep them out of our ranks so we don't have to go on a daily basis and starting to worry about our infiltrators and traitors inside of our ranks.
So you want to keep Muslims out of the military. First of all, I commend you for your service as a Marine, Robert. I thank you. Just finishing boot camp at Paris Island is incredible. Never mind serving and fighting. So you want to keep Muslims out of the military? No,
I wouldn't say it as that, because of the culture that we have. in the Marine Corps, we have a saying, we're all just different shades of green. It's a very strong brotherhood that we have in the Marine Corps. It's more or less just, the screening process, and we've had the attacks for the major on the Army base, and it's a very scary time with maybe, these radicalistic refugees that are coming in the country later down the road enter the military and are swayed by the opinions of ISIS and their leaders to attack from the inside.
Listen, I have no problem with that. You said not a ban, but I would say that if you are a refugee and you come here and Obama gives you citizenship, the kitchen sink, the Obama phone, Habitat for Humanity house, and the whole kit and caboodle, and you want to join our military, there should be a lot more hurdles for them to get into our military, and I would go so far as to say I would consider a ban based on, Robert, what has happened overseas, where you see they come in pretending that they want to be on the side of good, and the minute they get their hands on a gun, that they shoot 3, 4, 5, 6 of our guys who are actually training them.
Absolutely.
You want to avoid that.
Yeah, when I was in Afghanistan, we heard multiple times where the blue on green or the green on blue, however you want to say it, with the people that we are training, they're policemen over there, and these people have already been swaying before we even started training them to, once you're trained, you will use the tactics and techniques and procedures that you have been trained on to attack from the inside.
I got it. It's a great. Listen, Robert, thanks for your service. Thanks for your call. I'm with you. Listen, I'm with you. I'm with Trump on his ban. It's funny. Nobody wants to talk about Jimmy Carter banned Iranians when the whole hostage thing went on. Nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to talk about it. It was a Democratic president, FDR, who put Japanese Americans, people born in this country, in internment camps. Nobody wants to hear about that. Mainstream media is only going to tell you what their agenda is. And trust me, as I said many times today here on the Savage Nation, they are so frustrated that they cannot manipulate the brain. They cannot make you think what they want you to think. It is truly telling. And they're lashing out. They're lashing out. The lack of tolerance, the zero tolerance that comes from the left in America is appalling. And they are so full of hate, they can't even see it. They are so blinded by their hate. But let's get to the phones. Rich, WABC, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you for taking my call. Real quickly, I wanted to make a comment on the Pledge of Allegiance. I truly believe all this political correctness is truly destroying this country. I believe that if you come to this country, you assimilate, and if you don't want to, then you don't come, plain and simple. I just can't believe that parents are allowing this to happen in our schools.
Political correctness is domestic terrorism, and for those who don't know, Rich, calling from WABC, was talking about PS 169, where they banned Santa, the Pledge of Allegiance, and anything to do with the foundation of our values for this time of the year, the Christmas season. And so the superintendent came in and said, screw that. And like I said, Rich, political correctness is domestic terrorism. But thanks for your call. It's an excellent point. Our fundamental values of the country are being wiped away. It's easy to say if you don't like it here, leave, but leave. If it's so horrible here, you don't like it here, leave. It is truly, truly amazing. Listen, if you're holding, please continue to hold. My name is Lou Pate, and I'll just say this once. If you want to email me after the show, just go to loupate.com, click on the contact tab, and you can get in touch with me that way. But right now, I encourage you to go to michaelsavage.com. Check out Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. You want to stay in touch with Dr. Savage, find out what he's thinking. Check him out on Twitter at A Savage Nation, and of course on Facebook, where you can find his Facebook page is the one with his book, the cover of Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. Right now, though, check out the Savage Nation, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. My name is Lou Pate. We'll be right back here on the Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage, who will return tomorrow. And listen, you guys have to help me. The listeners to the Savage Nation, well, first of all, you have to become a part of the Savage Nation, and you could subscribe on michaelsavage.com. But don't tell Dr. Savage I said this, but you got to help me out. If a lot of you folks give as a Christmas gift Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture, and you happen to click on it today, it might go over well for me. Maybe I'll get invited back. Maybe not. Anyway, let's get back to the phones. All kidding aside, it's a great book at Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. Whether you click today or you click tomorrow, just make sure you click. It's a great Christmas gift, and it's going to be, trust me, in this election cycle, which we're going to talk about a lot in the next hour. It is an important book for 2016. That is understatement. Hey, checking in from the internet, line 5. Paul, welcome. Where are you listening? Where are you calling from? Where are you listening?
Listening to WABC. I think there's something very basic about that conservatives have to understand about the left in general is that it's like dealing with unruly, undisciplined children. I think that there are for too many decades that conservatives have allowed the left to run amok almost, thinking that, well, they'll grow out of it and, they'll wise up later. And the major problem right now is that we're dealing with people who just don't have a level of maturity, of mental maturity, that understand what they're doing is so destructive.
No, they don't, and it's all based on emotion, and it's all based in hate. And on the legislative side, Paul, the Republicans never stand up to them. The Republicans always fold. I mentioned earlier, for those who are joining us a little later in the program, Paul Ryan getting in bed with the devil herself, Nancy Pelosi, giving Obama refugees money. I mean, he's gonna go unfettered into the night with his Syrian and Iraqi refugee plans. He's gonna get all the financing. Paul Ryan, in his first real test, failed. Truly amazing. But what it comes down to is there's no leadership in the Republican Party. The GOP establishment is looking to Jeb Bush. They got a fallback plan going to Rubio, to a much lesser extent Ben Carson and so on, and maybe Tony Soprano there out of New Jersey, James Gandolfini Christie. But yeah, I mean, there's no leadership, and the left is running amok because they're allowed. Same thing's going to happen with the refugees. Same thing that you see. You talk about the liberals weren't kept in check. Same thing's going to happen with the refugees. They're going to come and they're going to multiply their evil spawn. And in 100 years or so, they'll be the majority. Trust me. And don't think the minority communities are not noticing this as well. But, Paul, thanks for your call. Do appreciate it. Hey, Mary, Al, others, if you're holding, please continue to hold. I want to be respectful of your time. I want to give everybody enough of an opportunity to get their opinions out there. In the meantime, you want to get in on the conversation, it's 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. I encourage you to go to Facebook, where you can check out Dr. Savage there. Again, there are numerous fan pages on Facebook, which are appreciated. But Dr. Savage's own page is the one with his new book on it, Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture, and of course, find out what Dr. Savage is thinking on Twitter at A Savage Nation. In the meantime, my name is Lou Pate. One more hour to go. We've got a lot to get to. The CNN debate is coming up tonight.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation. Talk radio for the thinking person, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate here with you, filling in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow, so do not fret. Looking forward to his return. I'm sure everybody is. And, of course, there is the book, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture. An important book for 2016, especially in this election cycle, which we're going to talk about a lot during this hour. And, hey, a great gift for Christmas. We are in the Christmas season. you missed your chance for Hanukkah. You could have given it away over multiple nights, but now you got another opportunity. Go to michaelsavage.com and become a member of the Savage Nation if you are not. And, of course, check out Dr. Savage on Twitter at Savage Nation. Facebook, his Facebook page is the one with the book, Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture on there. Well, tonight we have the CNN Republican debate. I have often marvel as to why Reince Priebus, and who's the Republican National Chair, agrees to have all of these debates with a bunch of crazy liberal yahoos asking the question. It's all set-up questions, as we saw with the first CNN debate at the Reagan Library, Jake Tapper trying to, instigate a fight, not talking about any of the issues, and the CNBC debate, same thing. But then again, there was the debacle August 6th with the Fox News debate, which I can't tell you how disappointed I was in Fox News. It really blew up the whole fair and balanced thing for me that night. Megyn Kelly coming out with the claws on. Remember when she used to be Megyn Kelly? Remember when she used to be Megyn Kendall? Excuse me. Remember when her face was different? Totally looked different. New name, new face. And, trying to pretend like I am the feminist. And it really soured my mouth for Fox News that night. I say that, look, Roger Ailes is never going to hire me anyway. Too much talent. So there you have it. I could speak the truth. That night really turned me off. It was repugnant. You got Republicans attacking Republicans because Donald Trump is not the Republican that you wanted in there, and it just keeps getting stronger. Remember when you were a kid, Hulk Hogan, the whole thing with Hulk Hogan, the whole act was. My friend told me that wrestling's not fixed. It's predetermined. Actually, my nephew told me that. He'd punch, the whole act was you'd beat up Hulk Hogan, he'd be down and out. Then once you started punching him harder, each punch would make him stronger. Well, that's what it is with Donald Trump. It's amazing. There is a new word of the year. Could you believe that? Every year at the end of the year, they come out with a new word. Webster Dictionary came out. Merriam-Webster Dictionary came out with a new word. You know what it is this year? Ism. I-S-M. And I'm thinking, well, that's not really a word. It's more of a phrase. It's more three letters dubbed. It's part of words. And then it's dubbed on to other words to kind of make a point. And right off the top of my head, I was thinking, well, what words really have ism at the end? And it just is thinking about the news cycle. It's like, radicalism in reference to Islam, fanaticism in reference to Islam, and feminism here in the United States, referring to the crazies on the liberal left who care nothing about women's rights. It's more about the politics of the woman who might be being victimized. There is no feminism there. Trust me, I've got many sisters, and the feminists in society today have nothing to do with feminism. Truly an amazing thing. But I want to get to your phones, but I also want to get to some of the issues here and recap. Paul Ryan. I don't like Paul Ryan, okay? He's a politician. I don't like politicians. This is the reason why I didn't think he should be Speaker of the House. This is why I didn't like John Boehner as Speaker of the House. They are not looking out for you and I. The only thing Washington, D.C. does, the only thing Republicans and Democrats can agree on, okay, is to, keep us in our place, so to speak. Make sure we stay at the back of the bus, and against so then they can have complete control. And don't kid yourself. The Republicans are no different than the Democrats when it comes to this. Keeping us at bay, keeping us in our place, knowing where we stand is the way they maintain their power and control over all of us. With Donald Trump, that is gone, okay? He is not a politician. He's a lot of things, positive and negative, but he is not your typical politician. Did you see in the first debate, I digress back to August 6th, the Fox debate, Rubio shows up thinking he's JFK with the tan and all of that. All of them that were on the stage that night sounded like Charlie Brown's teacher, wah, 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 wah. And I challenge anybody. Everybody knows about Trump calling the Mexicans criminals and rapists coming over our border. Everybody knows about him bad-mouthing John McCain's record. Everybody knows about him saying the blood coming from everywhere with Megyn Kelly. Everybody knows about him talking about banning Muslims who were not born here in the United States temporarily. I ask anybody, give me one quote from this campaign from any of the other GOP candidates. And throw in, with his cheap seersucker suits, Bernie Sanders there, too, and the criminal herself, Hillary Clinton, Ma Barker Clinton. Give me one quote that they have said. One thing memorable. You can quote me, I know, a dozen things that Trump has said, but you can't quote me one thing that Ma Barker Clinton or seersucker Sanders or the rest of the weak GOP lineup is saying, except wah, 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 about Trump getting a lot of media attention. Let's get back to the phones. I don't want to lose everybody here. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Lou Pate here on the Savage Nation. Again, Dr. Savage will return tomorrow. Mike, line 1, WSBA in Pennsylvania. Welcome to the Savage Nation.
Thank you. I like that Ma Barker. Anyway.
Ma Barker Clinton. That's her new name.
Beautiful. I am unbelievably disappointed, and I know a lot of the Republicans listen to the show, obviously, because that's where they pick up some valuable information.
Mike, I'm sorry. Let me interrupt you. Let me interrupt you. I apologize for interrupting. I don't like to do that. The media is corrupt. All other talk shows are doing talking points and trying to mold people's brain. As I said, the media is having trouble shaping what people think, and a lot of conservative radio does the same thing. Dr. Savage's show is the only place where you're going to get it raw and honest. But I'm sorry, go back. I apologize for interrupting.
And I am stunned that the Republicans, every single one of them, is not calling for Jay Johnson's resignation. We've gone from a Silver Star winner in Tom Ridge to a hapless dunce who would not even look at Facebook, would not check out the terrorists. And what about the civil liberties of 14 dead people laying dead?
They don't care because it's not politically expedient. And I agree with you. I agree with Dr. Savage. Jay Johnson, he should resign. He should be humiliated. And Mike, at WSBA, for those people who don't know what you're talking about the terrorist Saeed Farouk and his wife, Tashfeen Malik, coming through. And she was vetted, by 3 different agencies, multiple agencies, just after posting things on social media about wanting to commit jihad. Now, as you said, 14 people had their lives ripped from them in an instant because of the failures of our government, the failure of the department led by Jay Johnson. And, don't say that, Mike. They'll call you racist because he's a black man. You know how it works.
You're doing a great job, Luke.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Do appreciate it very much. WSBA there in Pennsylvania. Mary at WMAL. Mary, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hello?
Hey, welcome to the Savage Nation.
Yes, I wanted to say that I hear many people claiming that it's the Christian duty to take in these refugees, but I wanted to point out that the second epistle of John, verse 10, says, "If there come any unto you, and bring not this doctrine, receive him not into your house, neither bid him Godspeed." So that means if they don't bring the doctrine of Christ, don't let them in.
Hey, listen, well, I have to say well said. It's the Bible. But I'll tell you this, Mary, how's this? I appreciate you sharing that with us. I'm sure a lot of people are not as well versed as you are, so I appreciate you enlightening us. But I'll tell you this. How's about this? They could be letting in terrorists. It's one of those things. People keep trying that guilt thing with the Christianity. Let me put it to you. Someone said this to me just the other day. I don't know where it came from. If it was a thing that was going around the internet, I apologize. I'm not going to take credit for it. But people say, "Oh, yeah, but most of them are good people. Most of them just want a better life." And if a few terrorists slip in, it's just unfortunate. No. Listen, when you talk about the Irish coming over, the Germans, the Greeks, the flood of immigrants coming in the early 1900s, nobody was a terrorist. There was not a chance of one terrorist coming over. I would not be here if it was not for those immigrants. My grandparents came through Ellis Island, okay? And every other flow of migrants that came through that was fleeing whatever, none of them were coming here to be terrorists. So I tell this to you. This is the part I was referring to, if I heard it on the internet or not. I can't remember where I read it. Someone told me, or they might have got it off Facebook. Who knows? You have a jar of 100 jelly beans, okay? 100 jelly beans. 10 of them are poison. 10 of them are poison. One chew on it, one bite on your teeth, and you will die. There's 100 jelly beans. They're in a bowl. 10 of them are poison. How many of those jelly beans are you going to eat? Think about it. You're not going to eat any, because the chance of you getting a poison jelly bean and dying are there. Okay, it's small, but it's there. Think about it. So if even one terrorist gets through and they happen to kill your mother or father or wife or husband or kid, oh, you're going to listen to someone who go, oh, it's only one. It's an insult to compare them to the Jews fleeing the Nazi Holocaust. It's an insult to compare them to Chinese immigrants who built the railroads across this great country. It's an insult to the Italian and Irish and German and everybody else who came over to compare these Muslim refugees that are laced with terrorists to any law-abiding people who want to assimilate and wanted to become Americans. Let's get back. Thanks for your call, Mary. Do appreciate it. Al on WMAL in D.C. Welcome, Al. How are you?
Thanks. Well, I appreciate you taking my call. I think, Dr. Savage, I think you're doing a great job today.
Thank you. I took your call because I can't call you. Imagine if I called you at home. That would be creepy.
Come again?
I'm just joking. Go on.
So I agree. Earlier you said we all have to be students of history, and that really gets back to Dr. Savage's book. I certainly agree with that a lot. And there's plenty of history out there on Islam that we can study. And, it's all good history. It'll give us a lot of insight and background into it. What my suggestion is after spending 26 years in the military, we always said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And my suggestion is, first, to ask these candidates that want to be president what their solution is, but I've got a suggested one. A White House American Muslim Summit that invites all Muslims that subscribe to the notion of Islam coexisting with other faiths without imposing Sharia law on fellow Americans to this summit, and let them stand and be counted. I'm talking about folks like Ali and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and
Lou Alcindor.
Yes, Lou Alcindor, that's right. So all these guys can stand and be counted, and why not? If they're proud and they're concerned and they love their country, they should be willing to stand right up and do that. And that's what we need. We need American Muslims to say, look, you may practice Islam in the Middle East any way you want, but here in this country, we practice it in a way that allows for other faiths to coexist with us.
Hey, listen.
So I think that.
Hey, listen, Al, I got to run, but thank you for your call. Do appreciate it. No, listen, you are saying it 1,000%, but we don't hear it from the Muslim community. All we hear is attacks against people who are speaking the truth. We hear Jabbar criticizing Trump. But we got to go here, and I'm sorry about that, Al. I commend you for your service. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage here on the Savage Nation. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow, so you're definitely going to want to be here and actually become a member of the Savage Nation. Go to michaelsavage.com, and while there, you can click on and purchase as a Christmas gift Government Zero. No borders, no language, no culture. Not only a great gift, but it's going to be an important book, a conversation starter for 2016. Coming up after the break at the bottom of the hour, we're going to be talking about the debate. What do you expect to see at the debates tonight? I mean, will Trump go on the attack against Ted Cruz, or will he dial things back? I mean, he was mocking Ted Cruz for, what is he at, 14%, depending on the poll. Trump's at like 38%. And, who will be the candidates that go after each other the most, or are they all going to focus on Trump? And, come on, Fiorina and a few others, time to go home. Who is going to call it quits? Tim at WBP in Fort Worth, welcome to the Savage Nation. Hey, Tim.
Hey, I appreciate it. No, I just wanted to say, we got to keep things in perspective. Terrorism is not the thing that is threatening this country more. The economy, there's other things. If you look at the number of deaths domestically from terrorism since 9/11, it's been less than 4 people a year killed domestically. Televisions kill 175 people annually. They fall and kill 175 people in the United States every year. So I think we have to keep that in perspective.
Yeah, but Tim, the difference is a television falling on someone is a tragic accident. Somebody taking a gun and going into a school or a wellness center and just gunning down people is a conscious act.
We tolerate certain activities based on the risk and reward. It's like a liberal. When liberals go after the Second Amendment, we tolerate there are certain risks in a society that has guns for the ultimate benefit that it gives us in our freedoms, right?
Correct.
We tolerate the risk in bringing anyone in this country because we're a good country, a nation that gives opportunities, and that's at our core of who we are. And I don't disagree with improving precautions and doing things that would keep us safer.
Hey, Tim, would you eat one of those jelly beans?
Okay. Here's the problem with your analogy. That's for fun. There's no great benefit. I can avoid eating a jelly bean and I can eat something else. But to make your analogy more accurate,
we got to go, Tim. We got to go. But you can't avoid a terrorist if he slips through the cracks. You're listening
Join
to the
the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage.
All right, welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate sitting in for Dr. Savage. He will return tomorrow, and I know you're looking forward to that. In the meantime, check out michaelsavage.com, on Twitter at Savage Nation, and Dr. Savage's Facebook page is the one with his book, Government Zero, No Borders, No Language, No Culture, making its way up the New York Times bestseller list, and I'm laughing all the way to number 1 for Dr. Savage because it's driving the liberals' editorial section there insane that he is going to be number 1. It's probably driving them nuts just that he's number 3. When he gets to we won't pop the champagne corks until it gets to number 1, but get that ice ready, boys. It's like bottom of the 9th and 2 outs. And they're going to be coming in to celebrate soon. In the meantime, tonight, the CNN debate. CNN, not to be trusted. I don't know what Reince Priebus was thinking. But from you, the listeners to the Savage Nation, what do you expect to see at the debates tonight? I expect to see attacks on Trump. Trump. They're just going to keep going after him and try to destroy the man. And he will just rise, and he will get stronger because of you, the listeners to Dr. Savage's show, that silent majority that Donald Trump talks about. When he said that comment many months ago about coming over the Mexican border, rapists and killers and drug dealers and so on and so forth, and when the book ended it with Muslims should not be allowed in this country who are not born in this country, he struck a nerve with tens of millions of Americans who are tired of being called racist by the Obama administration, who are tired of having their free speech squelched and manipulated and taken out of context and misconstrued. On this day, the Bill of Rights Day, which was signed in 1791, people are tired of it. Before we get back to the phones, Robert and Jim, could we play clip 1? This was from Las Vegas last night. The Black Lives Matter clowns were out there, and they were trying to disrupt. It's like 1 or 2. The media make it sound like it was a giant protest. It was like 1 or 2 guys disrupting Donald Trump, and the crowd comes to his defense. But I want you to listen, and I'll repeat it for you afterwards if you can't hear, because it's very hard to hear. There's a black man, you can tell by his voice, I'm not afraid to say that, talking about Trump, but I'll tell you what he says afterwards. Just if you can play that, please, clip 1.
Trump! What would you expect of somebody do that legal aid for murdered Americans? He speaks for the dead. He speaks for our families. We love Donald Trump. And if everybody is go and vote, we scare people like that. Don't be Trump!
See, it's hard to hear because the Black Lives Matters clowns came out and they were disrupting the Trump rally, and then so the crowd starts screaming Trump, Trump, Trump. But in there, woven in there, is a man, black male. You could tell by the voice. He's talking about how Trump is there for the families of those murdered by illegal aliens, and the reference to that is Trump did have on the stage that night family members of those people who were murdered by illegal aliens. So he says here he stands for the families of those murdered by illegal aliens. He stands for our families. I love Donald Trump. And then after the beeps, he says, go out and vote. Don't be intimidated. That's what he says. He loves Donald Trump. He stands for our families. He stands for those who were murdered by illegal aliens. Don't be intimidated. Go out there and vote. Okay? Because the media is trying to intimidate you. The GOP establishment is trying to intimidate you. Everybody's trying to get the mainstream media is trying to get you away from Donald Trump. Let's get back to the phones and we'll continue our discussion here. Bruce, FTW, in Florida, WFTW. Welcome to the show on line 1.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will, for taking the call. Obama was a law professor and head of the Harvard Law Review. I believe this is a plan to subvert the Constitution. And the reason I say that is, with open borders and this forced immigration of Muslims, I think they've calculated on a Muslim backlash so that they can become a protected class of people. What do you think about that?
A new minority, you'll say.
Of course.
Is that what you're saying? A new minority? You know, I wouldn't be surprised. What would you like? I mean, like, sort of be a bias crime, like, you know, you can't. I could hit someone over the head with an axe and kill them, but if I happen to call them a racial slur and commit the same act, it's worse. If I do the same thing to someone who's gay, you kill him, but you make a gay slur. It's a worse crime. I never understood the whole bias crime thing. It makes no sense to me. A murder is a murder. What you say when you're doing it, it might lead to motive, but for the most part, the person's still dead. But you know what? Obama defies logic so much there, Bruce, and thanks for your call. Do appreciate it. I would not be surprised. But I'll tell you what. The liberal base, many minority communities, they're keeping an eye on this, and not just for ideological reasons. They know that if these floods of refugees come in, floods of Muslims come in, jobs are already scarce, and it's going to hit the liberal base in the lower income communities worse than it's going to affect any of the evil white devils that the Obama administration likes to look at white people as. Craig and Kern, Bakersfield, welcome to the Savage Nation. How are you?
Thank you so much for taking my call, Lou. This particular thought is based on pure conjecture. A number of months ago, there was a story that came out in USA Today in regards to Barack Obama issuing what was known as presidential memorandums, which carry the same weight as executive orders. And one of the things about that is that presidential memorandums also direct policies of certain government departments. And I think that perhaps the visa screening process, excluding social media posts, may be attributed to a presidential memorandum in terms of policy. Because why would they be watering down the process unless it was by decree?
I'm with you 1,000%, Craig, and especially with the rise of social media and how social media was used during the Arab Spring to generate interest and to get people to congregate in certain areas and so on and so forth. We've seen it used in riots here in the United States since then. Why wouldn't they be checking it? I mean, Craig, it's incredibly nuts that they would not be checking social media. You know, I understand that some people were late to the digital party and some people are not fully on board, but you're talking about Homeland Security. Jay Johnson, inept as the day is long, he almost makes Obama look qualified. Somebody had to tell them to look the other way, because I would think, Craig, in 2015, that's the first place you'd look.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a bit like Eric Holder in terms of there was no way Eric Holder was going to lose his job because he was implementing the policy of his boss. And I believe the head of Department of Homeland Security is going to keep his job because he's implementing the policy of his boss. And I think that's the reason why these people stay in these positions, which normally they would be forced to resign out of sheer embarrassment.
I agree. Hey, now, Craig, I can't help but notice your accent. Where are you from?
I'm from Bakersfield, but the accent's from Australia.
The accent is from Australia. Okay, I was just wondering. I wasn't sure. You've lost a little of it. How many years you been here?
No, I've never lost it. This is the misconception of the Australian accent, is that we all sound like the crocodile hunter, but
I wasn't comparing you to Dundee. Come on, that's too cliche.
This is the thing. If you have a thick Australian accent, Lou, you're out in the sticks from a metropolitan area. This is how we normally speak.
All right. That's on me, Craig. But aside from my mistake on that, excellent point. I would not be surprised if they purposely looked away from the issue of social networking, and I would not be surprised if it came straight from Obama. Craig, thanks for your call. And as for Eric Holder, that guy's got problems, man. He's got race problems. He thinks it's like 1947 in the Deep South. I think I'm going to buy him a calendar for Christmas. That guy's got a racist chip on his shoulder. He needs to get over it. America has given him a great life, great education, great job, I'm sure a great pension, great post-attorney general job somewhere, and all he is the angry black man. Get over it, Holder. Jeez. Nothing ever happened to you. Oh, that's right. You were running once and a police officer stopped you. Please. Whiner. Genevieve, KSFO, San Francisco, welcome to the Savage Nation. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I think it would clarify the decision-making of our leaders if we referred to Islam as what it is, a human control movement bent on world domination, masquerading as a more conventional religion. And I've got to be very clear.
That's a long title, Genevieve.
I've got to be very clear. There are millions of dear, compassionate people living under Islam. But at its foundation, it's an ingenious, and I believe pernicious, means to control people by intimidating.
I knew what you meant, Genevieve. I knew what you meant. Come on.
Or overtly through violence. And I think it's a genius. Even when you sleep, they've got the call to prayer. You're getting it even subconsciously, and they're mandated to bow numerous times a day.
Genevieve, you say that a lot of good people living under Islam, and I'm okay. I'm with you. I still think the religion is warped. I still think it's a cancer. I still think it's full of hate. It's almost as full of hate as the liberal left here in America. But where are all these lovable Muslims? And if their faith really isn't what ISIS is portraying it to be, how come they're not marching in the streets? How come there's not a million Muslim march in D.C.? Why are they not begging to go on the talk shows and trying to take back their religion? Their silence is deafening. It leads me to think that they must agree, at least partially.
They're either looking at it differently or they are intimidated. And by the way, there have been many more terrorist things, even in the United States, than we know. It's just not publicized in the media,
What do you mean? What are you referring to?
Well, an incident will happen, but it'll get a tiny bit of play, and then it won't be, or it'll be misnamed, as in the Fort Hood thing.
Well, Fort Hood got a lot of attention. It was Obama who made a fool out of himself by calling it workplace violence. That was terrorism. Now, listen, I like your description of what Islam is. I look at it this way. Christians have the crucifix. Our friends of the Jewish faith have the Star of David. And the symbol for Islam, Genevieve, is 2 sticks of dynamite and a clock.
I think Islam is another rhino, an R-I-N-O. It's a religion in name only. And the sooner we citizens and our leaders understand that, the better.
I agree. I couldn't have said it better. Genevieve from KSFO San Francisco, thank you very much for your call. Do appreciate you checking in from Dr. Savage's hometown. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break. My name is Lou Pate. Just want to report CNN is reporting that the jury in the William Porter case is done deliberating for today. That is the Freddie Gray Baltimore case. For those of you who don't know the name of the officer on trial, they will resume deliberations tomorrow. And just quickly, that was provided to me by Jim and Robert. And guys, I appreciate your help. It is the William Porter case. It's not the Freddie Gray case, and they worded it properly. William Porter is on trial for his life. He's the one who might go to jail, okay? So it is the William Porter case. He is the officer, the first officer to go to trial here. Deliberation's done for the day, more tomorrow, and Dr. Savage, I'm sure, will keep you updated as that unfolds. In the meantime, the book, Government Zero, no borders, no culture, no language, no culture, excuse me. You can check it out at michaelsavage.com. Hey, we got some time if you want to get in on the action, 855-400-SAVAGE. Debate tonight. Any final thoughts on that before we wrap it up for the day? Lou Pate here with you on the Savage Nation.
They're all coming after me. I heard today, I'm watching, I'm saying, man, this is like crazy. Who's going to attack Trump first? Will it be this one? You know, he's taken down 7 so far. You know, if you look, so far everyone that's attacked me has gone right down the tube, so that's a good. So we're watching television before, we're hearing all these announcers saying, well, who's going to take on Trump tonight? Who's going to hit him hard? And I'm saying to myself, yeah, I would say bring him on. Who cares? What difference does it make? But I would say it won't be this will not be like an evening in paradise for me.
To say the least. It's not even a debate. It's the Attack Trump night. Welcome back to the Savage Nation. Lou Pate in for Dr. Savage, who will return tomorrow. Just a few minutes left. Let's get to Chris WBAP. Welcome to the Savage Nation. Thank you for holding.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I just wanted to lend my opinion to the subject here. I know there's a lot of negative rhetoric going on with the Muslim faith. You know, I'm an American-born Christian. I believe wholeheartedly in my faith. But I do also believe that I think we're being a little too harsh, if I can say that bluntly. When it comes to the American Muslims and Muslims throughout the world, I think we've got to be careful painting them in a manner in which isn't befitting of their faith. I've known a lot of Muslims. I've been to Saudi Arabia. I've been all over the world in many Muslim nations.
How come we're not hearing from them, Chris?
Well, I don't necessarily agree with the previous caller about their intimidation. I think
well, it's a free country. No one's gonna. You can come out anonymously. If you think if 500,000 or 1 million Muslims met on the mall in Washington D.C. and they said, you know, take it from Trump, make our religion great again. Not that I thought it was ever great, but you know what I mean. It's a paraphrase. We're not seeing that. I doubt that they're intimidated to come. What intimidated by what? I think ISIS is going to come here. What, an honor killing? Come on.
Here.
It's a religion. It's a religion based on hate. It's full of hate. They hate Jews. They hate Americans. They hate anybody who is not Muslim. Where's the love? Where's the benevolence in that?
Right. Now, I agree with your point, but we have to be careful.
It's not a point. It's not even an opinion. That's fact. Kill the infidels. I think it's page 630 of the Quran. Don't quote me on the page. There's different printings. You know what I mean?
A decent outlook towards us, the ones that are living here, trying to be model citizens, to abide by their faith and be, you know, good American citizens to the best of their ability. I think they're going to be pushed away. They're going to be pushed into a view of us that they've been...
Oh, they already hate us. They just want our lifestyle. But thank you, Chris. I want to get Terry in here. We don't have time for Terry. I'm sorry. Hey, special thanks to Jim. Special thanks to Robert. Couldn't have done it without you guys making it happen behind the scenes. You folks don't know how much these two men do for me. Special thanks to Dr. Savage for having me fill in for him today. Don't forget, michaelsavage.com, Government Zero, no borders, no language, no culture. My name is Lou Pate.
Savage.